Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to November's edition of Working in Sustainable Technology. And this month, we are looking at the topic of regenerative agriculture. A hugely important topic within climate change as it feeds into resilient food systems and the protection of our food systems, helps us to build strong ecosystems and helps to heal our land from years of intensive farming. It's a fascinating topic as it feeds into, as I say, climate change, food systems, but also biodiversity. So it's the intersection of those three really crucial areas. And for today's session, we are excited to be joined by Alexander Jevons. Alex has over 15 years of experience across climate and ag tech. Previously CEO at Hummingbird Technologies, where they were using AI to assist with growing season decisions. And in 2022, Hummingbird was acquired by a soil carbon removal program, Agrina, where Alex continued to serve as commercial director. Alex is now running AOF Consulting and is today very, very happily taking an hour of his time to come and share his experiences in the space, the innovation that he's seen taking place, his own career journey, but also to advise some of you on how you also could move into the space. So with no further ado, Alex, over to you.
Thanks very much, Cherry, and nice to meet you all, albeit virtually. So yeah, I'm going to focus today on the journey at Hummingbird, journey as a company, but also my personal journey because it's not a traditional technology career path by any means, and then a bit on Agrina and the great work that they've been doing. So let me just. So I started my career in asset management, finance, with a sustainable asset management angle. When it was actually sustainable asset management, looking for companies across the globe to invest in, not with a greenwashing angle. And after close to a decade in that, I was approached by a personal contact, very fortunate in that respect, who was the founder of Hummingbird to come and help run and be part of the founding C team. Now, the we're talking about how you get into it. So my skill set, effectively, as everyone will know, startups are um, consistently broke, is the best way of putting it. And therefore you can bootstrap with your own personal capital, which is incredibly difficult, and most people don't want to put that risk on. Or you can have a product that suddenly makes money from day one and you're profitable, which is fantastic if you can do that, but it's unlikely. Or you need to fundraise. And that means tapping into various different markets. And I had done a lot of work with ultra high net worths, done a lot of investor relations, a lot of financial modeling, all those sort of skills, if you're from a financial background, translate very well into a tech startup, particularly within the fundraising finance function. So that was what I came on board to do. We raised over the before the acquisition by Agrina, we raised north of 22 million, I think it was. And that was from business angels, that was using angel networks, that was using corporate venture capital, that was using normal venture capital, and it was also using government schemes, Innovate UK, getting non-dilutive grant funding. These are all great ways for businesses to keep afloat, but also to innovate within their products. Um, that being said, I think there is a bit of a sort of caveat emptor here in that startups have, from my perspective, I went from wearing a suit and a tie every day to wearing t-shirt and jeans, and I was in my early 30s, and I thought, oh wow, this is brilliant. But it does come with pay cuts a lot of the time, and it comes with the removal of a compensation safety net. That can be your pension, your healthcare, your bonus, your base salary, all these things, and I think over my career, I saw a lot of people who wanted to make the shift from more corporate life, if you like, and that's a variety of backgrounds. That's civil servants, that's accountants, lawyers, and couldn't quite, or military as well, couldn't quite make the transition because that lack of structure, um, the the sort of the rapid decision making and the sort of the chaos doesn't fit everyone. And I think that's a very important point to make. Um, so, but that being said, it is great fun. So at Hummingbird, we expanded very quickly. We very much a British business. We won multiple awards, but we're an agricultural business. It was about reducing chemical inputs effectively, improving soil health without having any yield mitigation, and that is it was an incredibly exciting proposal then, and it remains so now. I mean, the largest cost for farmers is their chemical input costs. If you can reduce those whilst increasing yield, it's a double win. And if you can do that while restoring your soil and therefore the ecosystem biodiversity, that's even better. And obviously nowadays we've got carbon farming as it's sort of somewhat, it's a very much coverall term. So we opened offices in Ukraine, Canada, Australia, a lot of work managing time zones, very, very, very challenging, but really inspirational people from variety of backgrounds. We grew the team to 75. We had engineering, product, sales, marketing, finance, ops, data science, all the typical things you would imagine. We were a very, very R&D intensive business. So our largest teams were engineering and data science. Um, if I was to be totally honest, with the benefit of hindsight, we probably should have had a larger product team. I'm a big believer in product market fit, and I think what you've seen and what you'll see nowadays compared to 2017, where there was maybe, without going too technical, there was so much free money, if you like, interest rates were at record low, that people were throwing money at companies, is that sort of fake it till you make it doesn't quite exist any longer. Whereas you now have to get people to pay for your products, which sounds so so obvious to most people, but at the time it wasn't. Now, our core products were we used drones effectively because we wanted to get the highest resolution of the crops in the field, whether that was sugar beet or lettuces or row crops, wheat, barley, soy. Um, and that had a lot of merit to it because the resolution is fantastic. But even with the largest drones we ended up using in Ukraine, um, provided by a company called Quantum Systems, which now has skyrocketed, sadly, because of the Ukraine war, because all their drones have been repurposed for military purposes. We were not able to cover more than 75 hectares a day, which in the UK is a lot. In Ukraine is it's nothing really. So we pivoted to satellites, and that enabled us to do huge, vast expanses, which is the sort of the holy grail within ag tech is how can you get the largest amount of area at a reasonable resolution to provide real actionable insights to your customers. And that's what we did. And as part of that journey, what we realized that Indigo Ag, who some of you may have heard of, the US firm, had talked about the Teraton project of sequestering carbon as part of Regen Ag. And we realized that using our satellite, our MRV, monitoring, reporting, and verification technology, we could effectively help carbon farming programs like Agrina, who I'll go on to talk about, in monitoring their customers effectively. So we were able to look at what crop was in the field, what type of tillage had gone on in the field, what the crop rotation had been. And all of these things are very, very important within Regen Ag and indeed carbon farming programs. So Agrina were our sort of largest customer, closest customer. We worked with them a lot, and in 2022, Agrina, who had been on a massive rapid growth, decided to acquire Hummingbird, and principally for the MRV technology. We had some other secondary, tertiary technologies that weren't so important to them. So the MRV technology, including all the company staff, went over to Agrina. Now, my memory probably a little bit hazy, but when we joined Agrina, I'm pretty sure that they were at about 500,000 hectares, 450,000 hectares on their platform. They're now at 4.5 million. It's the largest carbon farming program in Europe. Um, it is, encompassing every major country in continental Europe. It was a different beast culturally to Hummingbird because I'd been part of the founding team, growing it from a small six-person business up to 75 and highs and lows and everything that you get on that journey. And Agrina, we went in, it was already 75 people when you added the Hummingbird team on. They're now well in excess of 300. They're very much expanding across the globe. The big difference, I would say, between sort of they're a Series B company, to use the fundraising terminology. Hummingbird, when I joined, was a pre-seed. Is the further on the journey you get, the necessity becomes to become more corporate. So whereas at Hummingbird we were sort of slightly fly by the night, if you like. They at Agrina there was much more emphasis on training, culture, systems, processes, and you remember I spoke about that cultural change and losing your safety net. Well, a company like Greener, you've got much more of that. So for a lot of people looking to dabble or looking to move into regen ag, sustainability, my recommendation would be to really it sounds obvious, but really look at the stage of the company, look at their products, look at how they market themselves, because you've got to be a good fit for whoever you join. Um, and if you don't, it's very difficult. So from a product perspective, Agrina is quite similar to Hummingbird in what you need: engineers, product people, data scientists, but with a much larger sales force. Because they have evolved their business model from just being a carbon farming platform to being a sort of what they call a climate fintech. It's a sort of working with the supply chain. Now, that can be Nestle, that could be governments, working with individual farmers. The skill set required to do that, whether you're on a sales and account management, is very, very different. You need sort of, to use a finance thing, institutional and retail expertise. Um, and you're going to need, you're building projects, and it's a very interesting, ambitious thing to do, very, very challenging as well, because you're trying to be you're trying to please lots of parties at the same time. Um, and but I suppose that Regen Ag needs its champions, and you need people to be bold. And there's a lot of evidence out there about the benefits of regenerative agriculture, but there's very little incentive. Um, and as we all know, if we're sitting in Britain, what the budget did to the farming community, or will do to the farming community from 2026 last week, and you have the removal of BPS, which was inevitable from Brexit, but without any real clarity on ELMS, it's going to be very challenging. So you need the companies like Agrina to help fund and hold farmers' hands effectively, because the voluntary carbon market is real. It is growing. There are people interested in soil. Soil is, enormous opportunity. Um, it just needs, within the sort of ag community, I think there's a lot of understanding of it. Within people who work in carbon markets, there's a lot of understanding. But you've got to persuade Main Street. You've got to persuade banks and insurers and all these sort of people that it's a valid, worthwhile investment, and that will be the real shift. Um, and yeah, well, let's see what happens over the next couple of years. So that's sort of in a nutshell. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.